All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to
The
The
truth
Truth Behind
behind
the
the truth.
Truth. I hope everybody's having a fantastic evening this evening. We are putting the alarm out there for y'all on Facebook so y'all can jump on. Um, Starting off today, we got a little technical difficulties, so our normal video presentations in terms of our conversation won't be available tonight, but it's all good because we're going to maneuver and work our way through all of it. I guess y'all wonder why we having the King of Pop in the beginning. We'll talk about that in a minute. Let me just go ahead and do our particulars real quick. Want to encourage you to support us. All right, like, and share. We thank you guys that are starting to do that even more. So we are seeing that and seeing the numbers growing. So just continue to share. Thank you for my Instagram people. We hopefully will be live on Instagram next week. Okay, and be able to broadcast there live. But I thank you those that have been sharing from my posts, things like that on Instagram. Hubby is on Instagram again, finally.
Sort of. I'm not into the social media stuff like that, but I try. I do what I can do.
Yes.
That's all we can do.
Right.
Do what we can do.
Absolutely. So, with that, your support, your financial support is greatly appreciated. Yes. Please support us through your financial means. All right, through our Cash App and our Venmo accounts. And the information is right there on your screen. Right there on your screen for you as well. You can also send an email contacting whether maybe Zelle or other opportunities that you would like to utilize. Send an email to TTBTT and we will reach out to you through that method as well. So we thank you for your continued efforts in season 6. A couple other quick things that we're going to dig in tonight. So we got confirmation that Samson McCormick, he will be with us in the next couple of weeks, okay, on one of the Tuesday nights. So we're excited to have him back, hear about what's going on in the comedy world. We also heard from the other wonderful comedian, heart and whelm of our show, Coco Brown. She'll be back in a couple of weeks as well on, join us on the wonderful Tuesday night. And I do have our first guest of the month. Her name is Maureen. She used to be a former co-worker of mine, but she is very passionate about the conversation that we are having. And she works in the city here of LA in the homeless division. So we will be able to have a great conversation about what's going on with people with mental wellness and all those type of things. So excited about that. She is so excited about coming on board, and having a conversation with us. All right. So we are looking forward to some great things. And there's a couple of people just waiting for the confirmation of the dates, and then we'll be getting some more guests in with us. All right. Charles, how you doing tonight?
I'm good. Hey, a girl to Indy. Hi, I see you here for the show tonight.
Oh, welcome. Thank you.
Miguel Augusto. I don't know how to speak Spanish, but I guess that's saying good evening. I'm not sure.
Oh, thank you, Miguel. Appreciate it. Welcome. Yeah.
Quiero a foto da Lucera. Okay, I'm not sure what that says either, but okay.
Yeah, is that right? Excellent. Thank you for joining in tonight. Honey, how you doing?
Oh my goodness. As ever, I'm doing fine.
Okay.
Just this weather is something else. You know what, Charles? I should be asking you, how's the weather on the East Coast?
Actually, it's pretty good. We had a cold front come through, which dropped the temperature down to about 40 something. But it's been pretty decent.
It's been raining like cats and dogs here.
Yeah, y'all got the mudslides and stuff going on.
Yeah, because of the burn scars and all that. But I love the rain. Especially when you got days off. That's the best time.
Yeah, because you're not working, and it's the best time. I've been working in the rain, and it's been really messing with my throat a little bit. It's just so funny. I have no issues with. We need rain out here in LA. It's at the end of the day, it's very rare because I've been talking to a lot of my coworkers that they see rain like this. It's been raining for 4 days almost. It's been 4 days.
Yes, it took a break today. It's coming back.
Thursday. It's coming back Thursday. So it's almost like a record, I think, right now for the rain. Yeah. So it's an interesting thing to see because when we first moved here in 2020, it didn't rain like this during this time of the year. Actually, we were going still through a drought during COVID.
And we actually have to wear jackets in Florida today. You had to wear long sleeves. I'm sorry.
Wow, that's
Well,
interesting.
that's okay now. That is okay.
Yeah.
I mean, oh, is that me? Oh,
Yeah,
yes, you clap it. Okay, it's like, wait a minute, what, is that me?
Well,
well,
they got some cold weather. Got to give an applause to that.
Oh, yeah, I
a
know,
mess,
right?
a mess.
That is certainly the truth.
So, what about Michael Jackson? You brought up
Yes, I
Michael.
did. So, Charles, can we put it back up again? Just have a picture of us.
Okay.
Um,
1 second.
Something odd is going on YouTube because it's showing that side versus showing the multiple side. But okay, that's all right. So anyway, if you see us in split screen or double screen or something, we're developing new techniques. Okay, so and you'll see in the next coming week that how it's going to be, in that regard as well.
Me, I know. I was looking like, are we in, hey, those types of mirrors that be, reflecting? But go ahead. Go on with the topic.
So it came out on, I think it was on X and all of the other social media aspects about Michael Jackson, and I have been a Michael Jackson fan all my life. Jackson 5, Michael Jackson, Janet Jackson, the Jacksons all my life, and every success that remains and can be is just so exciting, even with that being said, there always will be considered America's first royal family of music, the Jackson, because nobody's ever accomplished what they have. They've been those that tried. You got the Osmonds. didn't work too well for them. At the end of the day, for some odd reason, I don't know what that was, but I think it was towards trying to make Donnie in competition with Michael, and that could just never work. At the end of the day. So anyway, enough with the Osmonds, but then you had the Silvers, and then you had the Barge on the Barge, and you had all these other groups. And what was the other one from Hawaii? The Jets.
And the Silvers.
The Silvers, right? The Jets. And all of these people, they really tried, but the success rate just never happened for them.
The Osmonds.
Well, I did say the Osmonds, yeah, well, that was, I liked the Osmonds, but Donnie was okay, but he was just never Michael, at the end of the day, he was just never Michael, and I think most of society did that because he was what was that magazine, Charles, that they had out, you don't remember this, but Tiger Beat or whatever it was, that one for teenagers.
There was Sweet 16, Tiger Beat.
So every time you pulled it up was Michael and Donnie Osmond. That was the time. Yeah, it was. So but anyway, so fast forward about that. So the latest report came out about just Michael's growth after his death. He's been gone. Is it 15 years?
Yes, it has been.
I mean, it's just amazing how time flies. But he is almost just as relevant, as he was 15 years ago, as he was 20 years ago, as he was 25 years ago, as he was 30 years ago, and he is the top grossing artist, ever.
Oh, wow.
Ever. And then for the past year, he has outgrossed Taylor Swift and Beyonce combined from the grave.
There's a lot of them, to be honest with you. Besides,
just use those because the point of reference is them. At the point of the day, and it's amazing that. But see, and I put a post up about that today too. But the amazing thing about that is that I think Michael's wealth that everybody is seeing is that the riches that he had within him. And his congenial love for humanity. And his idea of being philosophical and philanthropy, and with that particular photo shoot that he was giving over $500 million toward different organizations, over a slight period of time. And not to slight, I know Beyonce does a lot. I was reading up on that the other day, not to slight that, but at the end of the day, is that where does legacy come in? This Michael is a representation of legacy.
I mean, she has a legacy. Don't count her out. I mean, at the end of the day, she has built up a legacy within the generation that she's performing for. I always tell people this. Before I knew music, I knew Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
That was just how rare he was in our lifetime. I grew up with him in the 90s and into the 2000s when it wasn't popular to be a fan of Michael Jackson.
Right.
I remember the Martin Bashir and all, and the trial, and him winning that trial, and then trying to come back, and
right.
We know what happened when he couldn't come back. He passed on. He transitioned over.
Right.
And I've always said this about Michael. I said, it takes somebody as special as him to still hold on to people of many generations, of many ages. People are still looking at his work and still using his work.
Absolutely.
Still, his work is still inspiring.
Absolutely.
And one thing I can say this for the MTV generation, which there is no MTV right now, but for that generation, he
officially gone.
Yeah, they're going to switch over.
Okay.
But he officially helped MTV garner up the viewership because Thriller is the video itself was $1 million behind the scenes maker.
Right.
I mean, he made a feature short length film, and because of that, a lot of the artists had to step up their game.
Right.
They just couldn't put out just crazy looking videos. They had to really step up their game to really sell music. So that right there, when you see artists today with all these high-tech videos, with these sparkling arenas and big tours,
right.
You have to give the man credit where credit is due because he did really set a trend.
Right.
For a lot of artists that came, and not only him, but a lot. Prince did too, as well as Madonna. I mean, and Whitney. But it was him who really ushered in that era where star power you really had to come with it,
right,
or just get out the way.
Right.
So I think that's where Beyonce comes with her trend. Even though I would say this, I would give at least Beyonce the credit that she acknowledges Michael Jackson's inspiration on her career, and that she had utilized what she had seen from him and utilized it into her career as well as being private.
Right.
But I'm going to also add this, and I'm going to cut this thing short. One thing I can give Michael Jackson credit for, as a Jehovah's Witness, the man was an artist of his time. He spoke on politics, and he spoke on world events. Something that I wish a lot of these artists and so-called celebrities would do.
Right.
But you have people now who call themselves people of inspiration and people who have the word of the streets or whatever you want to call them. They're just out here just saying whatever without any type of conscience of people who are following them, speaking out lies and agendas that doesn't even help the world to come to where it needs to be, which is the truth.
Right.
So I have to give Michael credit. He spoke about climate, about depression, about race, and he didn't really, he just did what he had to do to make sure that the message was out there, and that I will give him his just due. Charles, whatever you, what you want to go say.
Are you gonna hand it off to me?
Yeah, go on and say it.
Yeah, no, I think that in today's society, there's so much that we lack in empathy and giving that has become just a thing of the past, which it shouldn't have. Mm-hmm. But I think that I see where Emmitt Smith donated to 108 schools, paid off their lunch bills.
Wow.
So that they would be able to have the kids at those 108 schools in Texas could eat and have lunch, and it's time where people like Bezos and them have so much wealth, it's beyond even their imagination, and they could actually help so many people, but they leave it up to the government to do, and they don't even pay taxes or even contribute to society as they should. They have so much abundance that they could easily help out and take care of other people, but that's our society. It's self-preservation. We take care of ourselves. We don't worry about others. I got mine. Pull yourself up by the bootstraps. Who cares if you got strings or boots to wear? I just take care of yourself. I'm doing me. You do you. And it's a shame that we're doing that. Yeah, it's a shame. But
you had mentioned about Bezos. His ex-wife is becoming probably the greatest philanthropist.
Yes, she has. Yes, she has.
He just gave $700 million to divide it up over the
black collar,
all over the HBC schools. Yep. Yes, and it's beautiful to see that support. That's coming from that particular perspective. So we can't blame everybody for certain people's behaviors, at the end of the day, and for her to feel the need, because I'm sure there's Ivy League schools that she can be doing the same thing too, but at the end of the day, she's chosen, to be able to do that as well. So really, we send a lot of thanks and everything out to her for doing that. At the end of the day. So, you and I were having a discussion with today or the day before yesterday about just being, how you can be philanthropic how you can be philanthropical. How can you be a philanthropist at this point in your life? People tend to think that you have to be in a place of means. You have to be very wealthy to be a philanthropist. If you look at it, typically here in LA, and I'm sure some of the other, states, New York, Chicago, different ones, and even in Atlanta, when you see people living on the streets, okay, and then when you go by tent cities and all these different things out there, or someone comes to you in Atlanta, Church's Chicken, or or McDonald's, and they ask you for food or whatever the case may be, you have the disposition to be able to offer that and give that to them, or not even necessarily wait. When you see them waiting, say, "Can I bring you something out?" At the end of the day, you don't have to have a lot of money to be a philanthropist. Philanthropy is a part of your being, and as if you want to give, if you can give now when you are a philanthropist, speaking to your destiny, then it won't be a problem. But if you're stingy right now, guess what? You can be stingier then at the end of the day, and you'll be worried about people taking money from you, So philanthropy starts within, and it's a state of mind, and you really want to give to people or organizations that are available, to be able to do that. So you don't have to wait till you make money to be able to be a philanthropist. Everybody's a philanthropist if you want to give. Yeah. At the end of the day. But anyway, so enough of Michael Jackson and giving and all that. I hope y'all can be the philanthropists to our to our D here, all the truth behind the truth. We love your philanthropism, and doing so with that. But let's go ahead and dig in. Today. Oh, was there one thing we have before that? Oh, yeah. Trump, we want to get the entertainment out of the way, so we don't have to reverse that. So you guys know this weekend, all right, well, we've been so excited. Can you believe it'd be a year on Saturday that we sat in the theater and saw Wicked? And this Saturday we are planning to go see Wicked for Good. You know what I'm saying? It's been a whole year. How the whole, gamut of it and what has happened with it and all of that type of thing. And now it has come full circle again. That just shows me how fast time flies. Because when Wicked first was introduced, it was like, oh, I got to wait a whole nother year, and then went through. That year has passed.
Oh, yeah.
And
it's January yesterday.
Yeah. You're like, all right.
It's January yesterday.
And it's going to be January tomorrow. Before it's all said and done, it's going to be January tomorrow. So, it is it's a great opportunity to be. If you guys haven't seen the movie, really encourage you to see it on your streaming platforms right now to see Wicked and then Wicked for Good. And it looks like they went back and really brought some more things to the story outside of the stage play, version of it, the continuation of the half. There's a portion that they bring in about the Wizard of Oz.
Oh yeah, it's around this part of the play story, or the story itself. They do appear.
Right.
The characters from the Wizard of Oz will appear.
Right.
So I don't want to tell too much because I know those who are watching the show probably haven't watched the first, but they will want to see the second. So I always say, to be honest, when this show came out, when the story came out of Wicked, I was in high school. And people made such a big deal about it being on Broadway. I was in a music class, so music theory class, took choir. So my music teacher always talked about this Broadway show, Wicked, and I just was like, well, me, I didn't think too much about it, but I would hear them sing the songs. You had theater kids, they would come through and they would just be raving about, how great the show and all this other stuff was. But it took until we went to go see it in Atlanta because we saw the actual show. Right. But to be honest with you, to see how they did it and to see how they
four times.
Yeah, he seen it 4 times. I only saw it once. Right. But to see how they interconnected the stories and how the storyline is the foretelling of the Wizard of Oz. Because the Oz books come like the Harry Potter books. Right. So nobody reads as much as those books now. Right. But but the fact is that I like the fact that they actually, the movie itself has really stayed with the play. Right. Nothing is really, they have not taken too much away from it. And it's so good, and it's so great that Cynthia and Ariana, they have that relationship that really helps the story and makes the story so real. It brings their connection really brings out the characters, and you know, I have to give it up to Cynthia Erivo. I mean, she is very talented, especially when it boils down to her knowing about singing, knowing her acting. But you know, I have to, you know, give props where props is due, because I'm not that big of a fan. You know, Cynthia Erivo is a fly by night with me. I have my picks. I really do, but I have to give the girl credit. She is holding it down. So you know, hey, bravo to that.
Absolutely. So we're excited about it. I know last week we showed you guys a clip of how Cynthia has been very congenial about this character, but at embracing it enough to embrace other people that found themselves in it. And the young girl that was, I think she was in England, you know, at the time, and young girl was going to commit suicide.
Yeah, she was only 12.
Only 12 years old.
12 years old.
Yeah, and the character spoke to her about what she was going through in life, you know, and then of course when Cynthia was there, you know, she came to see her in the little talk session that they had and came up with her doll and explained all. We showed it last week. I think I erased it now. But anyway, but great. So guys, go see Wicked. All right, go see it, make it really number one like it was a year ago. But I think this is going to be even greater than it was, because they set this up already in a marketing strategy to take over the world. You know, versus take it over the U.S. Yeah, it's already done that. But they did all of the premieres, everything were all done. The only U.S. premiere was in New York. They didn't even come to L.A. to do it. I was like, oh man, y'all, you know. But anyway, you know, but they plan to make that money. But I'm gonna tell you that they definitely plan to do that. But anyway, moving on. So all right. Congress and Senate and the House, and they all finally came together on one thing: pedophilia. It's a shame. They had to come together on pedophilia. The only thing that could motivate them, I'll say it one more time, pedophilia.
Instead of premiums.
Yeah, well, instead of premiums.
Pedophile
premium, you know, what weighs out the difference? Pedophilia, okay? So people won't be able to buy it. You know, the pedophilia will be identified.
Hopefully.
Yeah, well, you know, we'll see.
Hopefully.
You know, you know, my thing about it is that I'm just saying, and I'm just going to put it out there, okay, allegedly, all right, that this man that's in office, it knows that he is so much so, and every one of them papers probably was, how many was it, 700,000 emails, or what is it, 7,000 emails, or what was it?
Around that point.
You know, around that month, he's probably on every page with a complete, you know, description, okay? So they're yet saying that the ability to possibly block the scenario of what's going on, because you know, once they open an investigation trying to put Democrats in, and allegedly there's some Democrats that are going to be a part of it, but that's not a deflection of you being on it at the end of the day. But I just think, now y'all can write me, tell me I'm wrong, please do, okay, that this is going to be another Watergate scandal. Okay, I said it earlier on, okay, that it's going to push him to the point that in order to try to save face, he's gonna resign.
Well, can I share something real fast?
Sure, please, of course.
All right, let's try to do this.
Okay. What you got for us, brother?
I got a little something I want you all to hear.
Okay.
Sanitizing these files. There's a facility in Winchester, Virginia, where they're scrubbing the files to take Republican names out of it. That's what I was told by a pretty good source. What I do want to talk about is I've been recently told the reason they're going to be releasing these things, and the reason for the flip, is that they're sanitizing these files. There's a facility in Winchester, Virginia, where they're scrubbing the files to take Republican names out of it. That's what I was.
Wow. I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised about them sanitizing the information. And the saddest thing about it is, you know, this situation should have been out a long time ago. That's my whole gripe with this whole entire thing, is that, you know, we have had plenty of times before this man became president for this to be the situation, but it was never the situation. And I would love to know why.
Okay,
why
let's break this down.
Okay.
You know, I'm a political junkie.
Yes.
So this case was reopened when Biden became in office. He handed over to Merrick Garland to open back up and investigate.
Exactly.
Merrick Garland drug his feet, and I'm not trying to be biased.
The truth, Charles. The truth behind the truth.
But they didn't want to hurt another white man, so they drug their feet, tried to do it with kid gloves, because Democrats have no balls. They always want to, let's all kumbaya, let's be together, let's not be divisive. And so they drug their feet thinking they could get this case through. Merrick Garland drug his feet to the very end and then finally done it, but in that time it's too late, which is the same thing James Comey did. James Comey took the case for the impeachment and so forth and drug his feet, trying not to hurt the party, trying to go, be a good guy and come along. And then he waited to the end and threw that little thing about Hillary in, which didn't matter, but he threw it in anyway to derail her campaign. Then he took it away and said, oh, I'm sorry, that didn't really matter. But you already have made the damage, so it doesn't matter. So when you do those things and they take their time trying to bring the cases forth, of course they're not going to succeed. But now they're learning their lessons because they drug their feet. Now Trump's coming back and he's taking revenge on all those people that tried to put him in shame. And they should have done what they're supposed to do their job, which they didn't do. Now and with Trump in the office and the Republicans falling in line like a cult, along with the Supreme Court, now they're serving justice the way they want to serve it. But Steve Bannon said it best. If the Democrats take over after the midterms, they're all going to jail because they've done so much illegal stuff, but they covered it up because they have the power. Trump could have put all this stuff out on his own if he really wanted. He didn't need the Congress or the Senate. He could put this out on his own. But he held back because he knows he's in it. He's waiting for them to sanitize it, like Jeffrey Epstein's brother said. They're sanitizing it before they give it to us. They're trying to get through all that paperwork and erase all Republicans and Trump's name out of everything before they give it out. And that's what's going on. It's a big what do you call it? It's like Watergate. They're trying to cover their tracks, and if we don't hold them accountable, they'll get away with it.
I'm going to be devil's advocate. If the Democrats do win, will they go through with it?
Like I said,
prosecuting these people because, like you just said, they're so good about dragging their feet on a lot of stuff. It's just the fact is that they are not so unified, which since we now know that that 8 members of Democrat senators can go over a leader who's so cowardly they want to vote to open up the government, because we all know Chuck Schumer allegedly wanted to, but he cowered out. Mm-hmm. But the saddest thing about the Democrats is that unlike the Republicans, the Democrats are not that unified for them to just do what is necessary to get things done. I have to give them the crazy Republicans this credit, because honestly, they've been pushing this for the longest. Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's been pushing this. She's been saying, I want the Epstein files out now. Right. Now they're thinking that they're doing this to hurt the Democrats, but they're only hurting themselves too. But the saddest thing is that the Democrats could have did this, like you just said, but the Republicans had to do it. And some of them are having to risk their own careers and their own lives too. I have to give it up for them. I really do. I'm a Democrat. I ain't gonna lie. I stand with the Democrats, but the Republicans, I would tip my hat to them. This was a campaign promise to those who really wanted this to happen, and they are making it happen. The saddest thing about this situation is that they're going to try to find a way to undermine the situation by trying to, like you said, expunge and sanitize this. But as I keep saying, the Democrats, if they want to, they can have the upper hand in this situation too, and get
they're weak. Like I said, they have no guts, no balls. They are too busy trying to not be divisive and go the high road rather than going low. And at the same time, they're losing the fight. You can't fight a snake with a feather. You just can't do it. You can't tickle him. Yeah, you can't tickle him and hope he'll say, hey, I'm your friend. No, he's going to bite you. And he's going to do what he needs to do. He's going to be true to his nature. And that is what's happening with the Republicans. They're holding themselves as unified, even with it being wrong. they're holding themselves as a unity. They know they're in the wrong. They know they're breaking rules, but they don't care. They're staying unified. And that's the problem. Featherman, he should be thanking people for giving him his job back after he had the stroke. But he's out here going, I don't want to be divisive. I want to work with Trump. That's the same thing, Steve Harvey said when he went out there when Trump won the first time. And Trump dissed him and he looked stupid. Until these people realize Trump is only worried about Trump. He doesn't care about the country. Look, we're sitting on the edge of a war with Venezuela right now. He's got our ships out there, everything, waiting to go to war with them. For what? Then he's standing by to go to war with Africa because they're persecuting Christians.
Did you see Nicki Minaj's speech at the UN?
That's the next question.
Yeah. And come on. I mean, and I say this the most humbly. I served in the service and I served my country. I've been with my country during peacetime, lost 16 fellow sailors at a plane crash. I've been through a lot, but I don't understand why we don't take care of our own country and look at this man as divisive, and I hate to say it, as a traitor to the country. He's not doing nothing for us. Nothing.
Well, yeah, no, I completely agree. I still am admitted that how many people at one point, during the election, getting ready last year at this time, how people just voted for this man. I don't get it.
I get it.
I
get it. I get that we are, some of us, and it's not the fact that, there were people that voted, but then there were a lot of people who didn't vote.
Yeah,
that voted. And I know who didn't. And let me give you this one example who didn't vote. Pharrell Williams. I know he didn't vote.
That's because he don't vote.
I know he didn't vote. But somebody to make an idiotic statement talking about, well, I'm apolitical. And those who choose politics and choose certain parties, they're part of the division. Brother, go sit your tired, rich behind ass somewhere. Who cares? I don't care.
He swears that if you excel, they'll pick you. But that's the purpose of civil rights. That's the purpose of DEI. That is the purpose of quotas, because you're not going to be noticed as a minority for being excelling in your field. You won't even get an opportunity. And I tell people this all the time. The purpose of DEI and all that is to get an opportunity. It doesn't mean you're going to get the job. It just means you get seen. And that's all that counts. At least if you get seen, you have an opportunity to showcase. But if you can't be seen, you can't showcase anything. For real, somebody, well, if you're good, they're going to close the door and bring you in. No, they're not. They're going to look at you and say, as Charlie Kirk says, I wonder if you're qualified because you're black.
Yeah.
And to be honest,
we just talked about that, Charlie. Go ahead.
But you know what? To be honest, they didn't think Obama was qualified.
Yeah.
And you know what's so funny even about that situation? It's like, we talked about this too. They don't want to give that man credit for anything unless it's something terrible like immigration.
Right.
The immigration situation was so broken, right? But Obama, during his time as president, was doing the business, right? So now that Trump is doing the business, they like to bring up Obama's, Obama, he deported so many illegals. So y'all going to finally give this man credit for that, but you don't want to give him credit for trying to fix the healthcare system that y'all are so wanting to destroy. And then on top of that, Fetterman, yes. You know what? He better be lucky he has his healthcare. And
yeah,
he ought his healthcare. Talking about some stroke. Yeah, he was, you know what? Yeah, he fell hard on his face. And unfortunately, I don't know if that was spiritual, because, hey, I look at things like this. You did the dirt.
Right.
And for a few days after that had happened, you fell on your face?
No.
Something spiritual happened in that moment. I don't know what that was, but he fell hard. Something tripped him up where he had to have a little bandages here and bandages there. That was some spiritual warfare going on with that. And honestly, yes. If I was Fetterman, let me just also add this. We don't get off to that. Hakeem Jeffries, he better watch himself, because there's a 27-year-old New Yorker, black guy, who's going to primary him in the midterms. And if he comes out with a better argument, I might look at Hakeem Jeffries side-eye, because Hakeem ain't been doing the work. He has not been fighting hard enough for me.
Well, let's play devil's advocate. And this is the thing with Hakeem. And how do you go to the ghetto and try to be cool when you were born in the suburbs?
Oh, boy.
That's Hakeem. Hakeem can't speak the language because he's not acquainted with it. It's just like Trump and Bush. Bush couldn't tell you how much milk was because he's never bought milk. I mean, come on, be for real. And the thing with Hakeem, with all intents and purposes, he's a good guy, very good guy, and he has the best of intentions. But he doesn't have the fire or the gumption to give us what we need. Right. They in the Democratic Party, they keep progressing with who's next. I want to go with who can do the job. Skip who's next. Who's going to do the job? They don't want Marjorie Taylor Greene to be the head of. Marjorie Taylor Greene. I have to admit, she even surprised me by saying she wants to see the Epstein files and Trump is wrong. I even had to say, "Oh my God!" But then again, the sun does shine on a dog's ass every blue moon, and the broken clock is right twice a day. So I mean, hey, every now and then somebody's gonna come through. But if you look at how the situation stands, until we actually take accountability, I forget her name, but the lady, what's her name? She said that we need to raise the age, or lower the age from 17 to 14 because Trump likes younger women.
Megyn Kelly. Crazy.
Megyn Kelly.
Oh, wow.
Well, now they got mad at Obama for having a tan suit and for talking to Reverend Wright, but this is good. How do you justify this?
That's what I say all the time. I just literally get baffled at the mindset of what these people are doing and what comes out of their mouth.
The goalpost.
Yeah, like you said, the goalpost moves conveniently anytime we want to. All right, and I love that saying. Y'all need to write that down. Say it again for everybody.
The goalpost key. They keep moving the goalposts. It's all based on what they think is right for them in the moment. It works for their fight, but I'm not surprised. This is what it's all about. We were just talking about Michael Jackson, right? Now, let me also give you a little bit of history. When Michael was accused of the first molestation situation in '93, guess who was also being investigated? Just guess.
Bill Clinton?
Jeffrey
Epstein. Okay.
Okay.
Jeffrey Epstein at the same time was being investigated.
Wow.
But guess who had the star power for that crime?
Right. Wow.
Guess who had the bigger name for that crime?
Michael Jackson.
So the saddest thing about
alleged crime. He didn't do any crime.
Well, alleged crime. Right. That's right. Alleged crime.
Yeah, allegedly.
But the saddest thing about that situation was the real criminal. His story was being covered up the whole entire time, and then you had people within, while Michael Jackson was being crucified and being surveillanced by the FBI.
Right.
And this what really gets me when people want to bring up, well, he's still a pedophile. You know what? You can believe what you want to believe.
Right.
Yeah,
but the FBI have the proof on Google. You can go Google.
They do. They've already said it, and this is how we know it's a two-tier system. The guys from Abercrombie and Fitch have been indicted for and guilty and prosecuted for sexually assaulting and manipulating young men. Yes, models, young men. But they didn't even get any. They got 6 months? Puffy was, and they were dealing with. They said they sexually assaulted these young men. Puffy is being persecuted for something that's not even on the same level. These are consenting adults doing this sex with Puffy. They're trying to push Puffy into the limelight, but they're not talking about Abercrombie. The guy on Seventh Heaven said he molested all those little kids on the set, but yet they're still showing Seventh Heaven in syndication. Bill Cosby
too.
Yeah,
Charlene has been passing AIDS and HIV to how many women? But they still showing half and half. Was it half a man, half a?
That's what you said, right?
Half a man. And then he's selling a book. He's got a documentary on Netflix that's about to come out soon.
Jerry Lee Lewis.
See, this stuff ain't nothing.
Elvis Presley.
It's nothing.
What did you say, Charles?
Elvis Presley. Jerry Lee Lewis. Come on. I mean, we persecute, and I'm not saying R. Kelly and them are innocent. They should be prosecuted. But these other folks are just as bad, if not worse, and you're not even doing anything to them.
Stupid. It's stupid.
And you know that. And just to show you how bad this is, in Chicago, remember they dropped out of the helicopters to raid that building and put all those people on the street, naked, half naked, kids tied on. Turns out they had to let everybody go because they did it illegally.
Oh, well.
Everybody's free. Out of over 100 people, they had 8 they thought was guilty. Turns out they weren't even guilty. They had to clear everybody.
You know, when you open the door for corruption, which, you know, with Americans, you have to take responsibility for that. You open the door for corruption, you're invited to come in, you know, and now that anything that reflects corruption gets a hall pass. Does any of them. You know, and everybody that he's let off, everybody has done all the situations. It is what it is at this point with, you know, with the whole, you know, perspective of it all. But anyway, we got to move on. We
can't talk about that food for too long.
No, we got to move on to that. But, you know, it's go ahead and take the next, you had the next discussion.
Well,
I would love to ask Charles this. I know you from Chicago. Did you hear about that story about the pregnant mother being attacked by a bunch of little kids? Because that's been just on our algorithm like crazy right now.
Did you see that?
I didn't get a chance to watch it, but I did see it. I didn't get to see the whole thing, but yeah, I saw it pop up.
Get me started, but go ahead.
I mean, the woman was suffering from sickle cell, but anyway, she went up to the school to see why the kids were harassing her son.
Her child.
Her child.
Right.
And them kids just surrounded her. Just walking the child home, trying to get the child home. They surrounded her and the child and started attacking. And the woman's pregnant. She's pregnant.
I was born and raised in Chicago. I'm gonna tell you that is not even out of the norm. When I was wow, I hate telling these stories, but when I was young, I was attacked by a group of boys in the I was in the 5th grade. They attacked me because I, as they say, represent myself with a gang. I didn't bother with gangs. I didn't have no older siblings or even older cousins in my neighborhood. I had older cousins, but they weren't in my neighborhood to protect me. So they jumped me. 6 guys jumped me, beat me, kicked me because I wasn't a part of one of the gangs. So, but I had to walk home by myself. So my uncles had the old school philosophy: if you come home crying, I'm gonna whip your ass and send you back out there. So my thing was I had to go back out and fight because I didn't want to come home and get beat up. And then the next time I got beat up was as I got older. I was I think I was 12 or 13. I got jumped by a group of guys. Oh, to take when you first get those digital watches, you know, the little red with the little red
right.
light. They just come out. I worked all summer washing windows to get me one. The guy stole it with a sawed-off shotgun, robbed me, took my money and my watch. And people came out the door and saw them robbing us. You know what they did? They went back in the house, turned off the porch light, and went back in the house. They didn't say a word.
You know, I'm gonna have you ask you a question about that and just say, but I don't see my point about this. You know, these kids. You know, we had a heavy discussion earlier today about the same situation and that, and I wonder where the parental involvement in life has gone. Okay. Number one is that in communities, and typically communities of color, we have nobody speaking life to them. At the end of the day, we don't. Okay. The institution that we want to throw up in everybody else's face, that book that we want to throw up in everybody else's face, that institution that supports that book wants to throw up in their face, but they're not doing anything to better the community.
No, they're not.
Okay.
No, they're not.
And that is one of my biggest dislikes about that organization. I'm trying to say it today, okay? You know, but I'm throwing out hints. So those of you that know that I'm throwing out hints, yes, I'm talking about that group of people, okay?
Pimps in the pulpit.
Yeah, exactly. that group of people that has allowed this behavior to overtake communities, okay? Rather than speaking truth to power about life and where they fit in life and how the greater part of them will help them make better decisions. Okay. They never talked about the greater part of them. Okay. They talked about, well, you can't do this. You can't go here. You shouldn't be putting this on. You shouldn't be putting that on because your higher power, I'm trying to say it, y'all, that is displeased with you from the moment you walked in the door, from the moment you came to the planet. He was displeased with you.
Yeah, so, you were a sinner.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that. Yeah, I'm trying not to, you know, say those words because then somebody will say I'm implicating a certain group of people. So I'm going around the back door, coming in the front. Okay, you know. But the whole idea of that, and then then you have that same platform that was utilized from the early 50s down throughout the 60s till 1968 when it ended. Okay. And that platform was opened up and it ushered in an idea of embetterment for a group of people. when 1968 hit, that embedment for the group of people just changed and became about, did you bring your money to the house today? I ain't gonna say that other word to start with a D. I ain't gonna bring it, or how much more can you start contributing? And then the point of making you feel less of who you are as a person. So when you don't feel good about you, you go around and you raise kids that don't feel good about themselves.
Well, my son tried to be a gangbanger in Virginia, of all places. And I had to break him of that because he has relatives in Chicago. He wanted to be like his cousins and all in Chicago. So he's in Virginia trying to be. But, like I told him, that's not a very not only lucrative, but prosperous endeavor to be in a gang. And until you actually be involved in it or get that eye-opening, be woke to it, you don't really understand it. But this is the thing I tell people too. I watch my kids, but I can't watch everything they do. And I'm not able to oversee them you can helicopter all you want. And he's still the girl's gonna get pregnant. What's gonna make girls pregnant? As we talk about relationships, which is today's show, that is what that is. Relationships are difficult, whether it be between man and woman, man and man, woman and woman, parent and child. It is very difficult to have in society today because it takes two parents to raise a household. Yes, some people are fortunate enough to have enough income, but it usually takes two people to bring enough in to raise a household. You can't do it by yourself. Society today as a whole is so overburdened. I try to, my daughter told me the other day she has two young boys, and one of them's autistic. One of my grandsons is autistic. And she goes, Daddy, I don't know how you and Mama did it. Wow, I worked nights, she worked days. We shifted. We had to have shifts in order to take care of them, and not just happen to have a good job that actually paid enough to keep us going where we need to go. But it's not so easy to have a child or to raise a family or to even have a relationship as a couple because things are so difficult now. You can't, how do I put this? You can't foresee everything because life throws so much at you. It's just hard.
But we should ask ourselves this question. The holidays are coming. How many parents are going to have to work Thanksgiving and Christmas Eve?
I work every holiday, man.
And that in itself is something to think about when you're talking about families and times of events like this.
Very disheartening.
It is a very disheartening thing because you have these jobs. Now, when I worked at Walmart, the old heads that worked at Walmart used to say, Sam Walton, he knew there were single parents that worked in his store, so he put daycares in his stores. But until the day he died, after the day he died, they snatched those daycares up.
Yep.
That is very telling. That's very telling. The fact that we live in a society where we work these jobs, but they don't see the importance of community and family. They don't. You might have a sick parent at the house, and you're working in a warehouse. You might have a sick wife or a pregnant wife. Yeah, they might have leads, but then it's only a certain amount of days you can take off.
Dementia is on the rise.
What you say,
Dementia is on the rise. More of us are become responsible for our parents because we can't afford to put them anywhere. We can't afford to hire anybody to watch them. So now that I don't want to say burden, but that responsibility falls upon the children who are already struggling. Now they're struggling to take care of their parents who are suffering with things we can't even afford. Healthcare is such an essential. My grandson needs special therapy, speech, and so forth. Now with the change in the Medicaid, he can't get it. And that's a shame. And now they're doing the college system. The college system now becomes, there's two tiers. There's professional and then there's regular. Professional includes all the trades, but you have to have a $200,000 income in order to be able to afford college. Those of us at the lower half take what comes left and what's there. And it's a shame that even with the way they're revamping SNAP and all, they're changing the rules so that you have to then be homeless in order to afford it. And I get mad when I hear people say, well, if you got a job and you can work, then you don't need food stamps. Man, I worked and I had a job and I still needed food stamps. I worked at Walmart for a while and I didn't make enough to feed my family. Then I messed around and left my job, ended up out here doing the movies and stuff. And it wasn't because I wanted to, it's because it was the only job available. I still had to get food stamps. And they tracked every check I got. So it wasn't like I was getting food stamps and was out here buying steaks and lobsters and, you know, having cookouts. No, they tracked everything I did. And I try to tell this to people. You look at folks who are disadvantaged and having a struggle as they can do it, I'm doing it. Everybody's not the same.
That's the kicker. Everybody believes that everybody is the same. That's the truth behind the truth. Everybody wants to believe that, okay, for example, in this country of these United States, there's a plethora of opportunities that are out there. Then you have those opportunities that are out there, but then you have people will say, well, you know what? You know, I don't know. I don't think you're qualified for this. I don't think you're qualified for that. You have to sometimes know somebody. You have to know people. And that is the one thing that kills me about people who want to say, well, you're not out here doing what needs to be done. Honestly, those people who are successful, favor ain't fair. Truth behind the truth, favor is not fair. We have this show. Let's just be honest. We have this show. Now, if we had the favor of a backing, we'd be all over the place. Hey, truth behind the truth.
Right,
do you know that 40% of young men have never asked a woman out in person?
And why is that, Charles?
Because of social media and our devices. We spend so much time on apps and DMing and so forth. And they also said 60% of young men don't engage in sex.
Well, that's a good thing.
They don't engage.
That's a good thing.
They don't engage.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Are they practicing self-love? Is that what you're trying to say, Charles?
That's right. They spend all their time in the basement with a phone or a tablet or a computer, and they don't have the time to get out there and do it. It's easier just to sit in the basement and be your own surrogate.
So that's depression. That's another symptom of depression. So most men are depressed. So when you are depressed, you do those things because you have nothing, because you don't feel like you have inspired or you have not accomplished anything.
Well, rejection is a large part of that. A lot of folks don't want to be rejected. We're in a society now where everybody gets a trophy. We all play, we all get a trophy. It's not a guy who excels gets the trophy. Now everybody gets a participation trophy. Nobody fails. We all are included in it. There's no competition, so to speak. You know, even in school, not high school, but school, kids are passed along as long as they get along. It's not a matter of did you learn your math, did you learn your reading? No, you get along so you can move along. In Chicago, we got a phrase that's called "get down or lay down." And that's just how it works. You either get in it or you lay down and just let everybody run over you.
Right.
Nobody actually participates in it to excel. They do what they can do within their own little bubble.
And that's why we have what we have when it boils down to this healthcare, to the SNAP program. We have what we have in the White House because that's all we do is lay down and let people ride all over us. So that is the truth.
Yeah, true. So here's the thing. Yeah, as we know, we didn't really kind of up it up at the top of the show, let you guys know that we were going to be talking about the forms of relationships and how we build relationships around different things. But you really kind of hit on it just a minute ago, Charles, and you did too, about how we're finding each other, building relationships with ourselves. Now, to a larger extent, that's a good thing, all right? And you understand what I'm saying about it. But the other part, like you had pointed out, is that it's forcing us to spend a lot of alone time, okay? In that alone time, we're really seeking out for that connection within that relationship or a relationship of that. So we've lost that connection. And you said earlier, that divide, you know what the relationship now is? Twitter. Okay, or X. The relationship is Instagram. The relationship, well, when it happens, it's on Facebook. You know, it's on YouTube.
Chat GPT now. People are making their own spouses and boyfriends out of Chat GPT.
Right. Yeah. You know, and then what's the other? TikTok. I mean, because this has become the relationship for people. So the engagement of the one-on-one, even just a one-on-one decent conversation, is no longer there. Because what happens is that you're texting. You know, you text a conversation. You will spend hours texting a conversation rather than pick up the phone and have that whole conversation done in 15 minutes. but you're busy texting because that engagement is that you really don't want to hear what that person is saying. You really don't, and then you can say anything you want, and the intent behind the typing is not always what's being said at the same time. You type in caps, that means you're yelling. Sometimes you just prefer to type in uppercase, and not be yelling. So sometimes you just prefer to see it that way. But I mean, all of these little factors. Now it's the fact, along with that, and not now, is that the emoji method of life. Emojis are the ones that really even shorten the opportunity of the text. Because
I texted a young lady the other day and said something sarcastic. She hit me back and go, "What do you mean by that?" I said, "I was just joking." She goes, "Well, you didn't put LOL behind it."
See, or the laughing emoji.
Yeah, so, okay, my bad.
And then they were talking about this a couple months back about the emoji conversation, and it's going to expand. It's not like something that's going to go away. They're going to keep developing emojis based upon the sensitive needs of the human being. So that's going to be another form of AI communication. And they said, next thing you know, child, I'm going to see the emoji like, oh, that's what you're talking about. Okay, I got you. Because the emoji went, I got you,
Yeah, true.
But it is, and we really are finding ourselves developing relationships in so many different ways that are outside of the individual connection that we should have with one another, at the end of the day. But here's the solution, because we got to wrap this up. We're like way over time. I suggest, and I'm sure you guys can, give a point on this, is that you got to find a way to go within. Okay. Mm-hmm. You got to start realizing that you are of value, regardless if somebody has really said that to you over and over again over the course of your life. You have to begin to value and validate yourself. There's so much information out there for you to validate yourself. Okay, there are. I mean, I don't know. We could probably find a couple of them that we have on Charles on our overlays of encouragement, words of encouragement that you can inspire yourself with. And not necessarily look at for someone else to give that to you. This is a time where it is self-preservation. Okay, and it's a time to preserve yourself within yourself. All right. Young people, young men, young women, y'all really need to do this, all right, at the end of the day, because if you're not from a household like Charles mentioned and I mentioned about having parents that had guided you, you're going to have to go within, because you'll find yourself in situations that you did not want to be in the middle of. It is a point, learning to love yourself. That is a relationship you really have got to, and it's difficult, because the number one thing is that when you look in the mirror, you're looking back at you. And you're seeing the things that you represent and you don't represent. And relationship experts also said that COVID was really the worst thing that had ever happened to humanity. Okay, but then again, it could have been the best thing to happen to humanity, because it gave you an opportunity to separate from all of the noise and gave you an opportunity to focus in on yourself. But people didn't utilize it for that. They went stir crazy. They went through all of these emotional things, because what happened was that they weren't regularly ready to spend time with themselves, because they would pick up the phone, they do this, or they run here, they run to the club, they run everywhere else, and not really run into themselves. But I think that in order for us to get to a place as humans that we are, the greatest gift that has been created by our Creator, we're going to have to find time to spend time with ourselves, and go back and do like what you said, a reset, and not a cultural reset, but a personal reset. Because once you reset yourself, then you'll be able to connect with someone else that has reset themselves. Then you'll get the cultural reset. Then you'll have people caring about one another. Then you'll have people loving one another, okay? And not going to the fact that we have to worry about a certain level of files of a pedophile that has took complete advantage of young ladies and girls for forever and a day. But you know what? Even in his case, he used these women to medicate his indeficiencies. Mm-hmm. He didn't love himself. He didn't care about himself. He didn't care about who he was and what he represented. And his family could have been torn. They could have been rich. Yeah, they could have been. But just because you have money don't mean you care about yourself. Look at who we got in the White House. He doesn't love himself because he wasn't taught to love himself. And anything that descended from him doesn't love himself. So we've got to do that reset, but it's got to be a personal reset. If you don't have a spiritual higher power, find some sort of higher power. Meditate. Just say that I'm glad that I woke up. You know what I'm saying? Say that I'm glad, I'm excited that I woke up this morning. And that starts the good energy that comes from. And last point, then we'll wrap it up at this point. If you find that what's coming to you, you need to check your energy. What energy are you putting out every day? We are all energy masses. Okay, I know you crystal folk don't like to hear that. Okay, but we are. Quantum physics automatically tells you that you are from a greater energy that has connected to bring your energy to a place to where it is. When we start understanding that the quantum physics that y'all hate to talk about is a part of your greater good, okay? And your greater good is an institutor of the quantum physics. But guess what? You got to think outside of yourself to be able to understand that. You got to think outside of some perpetuated religious behaviors that have been laid over your life. And while we're having this concept, these words I'm trying to say, of inspiring yourself in a relationship, religion has destroyed your own opportunity to have a personal relationship with yourself. If you have a personal relationship with yourself, guess who you have a personal relationship with? Your Creator. You find your way back home. When you leave home, because you left home because you didn't know who you were. But when you find out who you are, you find your way back home. And your home is within you. All right, I'm good. Go ahead,
I mean, that was enough said right there.
Yeah, I say this every week. Until we realize that we need each other to survive, we'll never survive.
We'll never survive. We'll leave it with this. The Hindu word that which I loved when I first learned that, and I started utilizing that in the Hindu community, and the Buddhist community. And I'm that way. Okay, I'm just giving y'all some information you can learn from other people. But the word namaste. Okay, namaste. If you just started in the energy of namaste, it will change your whole disposition, meaning that when you come into the presence of a person, you allow your spirit or your energy being to connect with that energy being, and you recognize that in that individual without opening up your mouth. And you allow that energy to transform in and of itself will be the place that you'll find the peace that you just talked about, Charles, and what you're speaking of as well. Work on namaste. Put that in your psyche this week. Okay, the psyche up here. Just say, I'm going to operate in the namaste principle. I'm going to develop a relationship in namaste. And everybody that comes across my path, I'm going to recognize the energy, the God, however you want to phrase it, in that person. Okay, that's not the color of their skin, the length of their hair, or any of that. It's the energy that person brings into your connected piece. All right. Anyway, we got to go. We love y'all. We want you to have that relationship that we just spoke of. We gave you some stuff. We didn't get digging. We had a lot of videos tonight, but next week we'll just try to bring one of those to you, and as well. But thank you, all of those that have tuned in for the first time. I've seen a lot of you guys came on tonight. Thank you.
Yes.
Thing is, we need you to stay. We don't want you to come and go. All right. We want you to stay. All right. And that's very, very important. All right. So love you guys so much. We'll be right back again. On Truth Behind the Truth next Tuesday night. And keep in mind, we got some great guests coming up in the next couple of weeks. All right. Y'all take care. Love you much. Charles, thank you. As always, hugs. Wakanda. I would have not Wakanda. Truth Behind the Truth forever.
Hey, we're all in this together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Y'all have a powerful night. See y'all next week.
All right.
All right. Take care, guys. Bye.